Well, hello, and welcome to the Everyday Healthy Human podcast. My name is Jen Rulon, and you may know me on the gram as Coach Jen. So today, our guest is Jason. Oh gosh, Jason Barger,
Barger. Yeah.
Barger, who
Yes.
is a dear friend of mine. As we connected, of course, on the gram, and we have maintained friendship for quite some time. I don't even remember how long we've known each other,
Yeah.
but we connected as athletes, as triathletes, and then as coaches.
Yes.
So we really have come to really respect one another as coaches, as human beings, and now we have really developed an amazing friendship, and I value that. So
Well, thank
I'm
you.
not going to get emotional on you, but Jason, thank you for coming on my podcast and sharing your story because I think it's a great story. So thanks for joining me, Jason. Welcome.
Well, thank you. And you too. And yes, I've always been so proud of all the things I've seen you've accomplished throughout the years. So
Well, thank
kudos to
you.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So give the followers a snippet, like an elevator speech of who you are as a person, who you are as an athlete, and who you are as a coach or a
Okay.
mentor.
So Jason Barger. And I've been doing triathlons, running, adventure races for probably over 25 years. Along with that, I'm a massage therapist and I work in the first responder field. So, as being a coach, I've always been more of an inspirational coach. Lately, I have started trying to push more running coaching, um, but for the most part, it's just been that. Uh, I'm in the process of becoming a breathwork facilitator, and really just whatever else is out there. I'm really homing in on the holistic side of life. I am a holistic one coach from Paul Chek, and yeah, that's a snippet of who I am right now.
Love it. And where do you reside?
I'm out of Miami.
Miami, Florida. Okay. So
Yes.
if any triathletes or athletes are heading down to Florida to do a triathlon, we'll put all of Jason's information for your massage therapy as well,
Yes. Hmm.
right? And hopefully you won't need him as a first responder.
We hope not. No. Mostly just as a massage therapist and as a coach.
Yeah, yeah. So before we get into the nitty gritty of what we want to talk about, because I really love what your articles that you've written and a couple of things that you've talked about that eventually will be in your book, right?
Yes. Hmm.
I can you tell everybody about your I think what really stuck out to me was Ironman France.
Okay.
That story. I think people will resonate because I want to share with people or the followers that, we all started somewhere. We all started at that. We towed that starting line, whether it was a 5K, whether it was a 10K, whether it was a half Ironman. So the reason why I'm saying Ironman, and you could either do Florida or France, whatever you
Hmm.
feel drawn to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think people think about when they see us, they think, oh my gosh, you've done 15, you've done two, and you've been in the field for 25 years, but we've all started somewhere. So can
Yes.
you maybe share a story on how you started, or whether it's Ironman, whether it's a 10K adventure race? You tell the crew.
Okay. So I guess I'll start with Armory, Florida, because that was my first one.
Good
And
one.
that was really, it was what was the next thing. And I think that's the one thing I want to talk to all your audience about is you have to get started somewhere. And don't ever be afraid of, because a lot of people are like, well, I need to start at a 5K, I need to start at a mile run. If your heart is up for it, if your heart's up for it, then do what you need to do. And I know a lot of people who've started at 5K and next thing you know, they got involved in Ironman and they go, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to be an Ironman. And it does hold a little bit of a prestige, and especially in the athletic community, that you're an Ironman. I mean, everybody knows that phrase. And so my biggest thing would be biggest takeaway for that is don't let anybody tell you you can't do it.
I
Um,
love that.
Make sure you get the right coach and make sure that you take the time to make time for yourself. And that's something that I could
Amen.
definitely emphasize with athletes nowadays is that
Hmm.
everybody's going a mile a minute. Where we want to be on the social media, we want to be on the gram, we want to be on Facebook, we want to be here, and we have jobs, we have kids, we have all sorts of things, and we stop putting ourselves first. And like anything in this world, it equates to if you're on like an airplane and something happens. What happens? Well, the first thing is the
Mm-hmm.
oxygen drops. And what do they always tell you? Put your oxygen on first, and then you can help everybody else. And I find that just a lot of people in this world are not doing that. They're going, going, going. How can I help that person? How can I help the next person? How can I keep my family going? How can I keep my kids going? But they don't want to take care of themselves. And so with athletics, if you're going to get into it and you're going to do the Ironman, you're going to do a 5K, you're going to do a 10K, take that time to become the person you need to be and take care of yourself first than anything else. Once you have that idea, that mindset that I'm doing good for myself so I can do greater for others, you could become any athlete that you want to be. And either a 5Ker up to an Ultraman, but take that time and become who you need to be because you'll get better, more mentally strong, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You will grow as a person. And because of that, you can help other people, especially your family or your loved ones or anybody else that you come in, even your own teammates. If you
Mm-hmm.
dedicate the time that you have for yourself, that's the biggest thing. And
100%.
that's kind of what I found out with doing my first Ironmans and just even the first 5Ks and taking the time for myself to train just makes you so much more mentally stronger and you'll be able to keep up with anything. Uh, Even to this day, I think that's the one thing I always try and challenge myself with is not very smart, but get up and just go run and
Right.
see how far, a lot of times I'll just get up and go, you know what, I'm going to do 10 miles today. And then that's just kind of like a border of like where I am physically. And if you could start doing that and get to that point, you always know that you have that mental toughness to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing in this world. You know, one thing I've always noticed is that people refuse to embrace the suck.
Yes.
And as an athlete, you have to get to that point in your world, even if you're just a starting off walk run person,
Yeah.
you have to keep pushing yourself to that point.
Yeah.
You can back down, but you need to at least once or twice a week do a workout or something that pushes you to become the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think that,
embracing that suck
hmm
of
and
what it is.
I think too, I think the biggest thing that I'll tell runner people who hate running,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't like running, then go for a walk instead, or go for a hike, or do something,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
do something that you enjoy. Just because your friend's doing a 5K or a marathon doesn't mean you have to do it with them, but maybe you can bike the marathon, you
Absolutely.
know?
And that, not only that, because cost training itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to get out there. What I've really found is that running is truly a lot of form. And that's one thing
100%.
I try and do with all my athletes. I mean, you can say, oh, I want to go run this or XYZ. I want to see how your form is first.
Hmm.
I'm never going to give you a workout without looking at your form first, because
Yeah.
that 1 mile that I might give you might just completely destroy you because you're just not used to running.
Right.
And if we could just take a look at your stance and see, wow, okay, let's just work on that. That's all I want to do. I'm not going to give you a real workout. I want to see how well you could just position yourself so that your form is proper
Hmm.
and to get them out that way.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a big advocate of pose method running, and that's something I've
mhm.
coached for years. And like just this past week, I worked with Jackie, who was one of my athletes, and we worked on her pose, and you could see the difference, like the shift that she made within 20 minutes of us talking. I was like,
Yeah.
you're leaning with your chest and not with your hip, and then
Yeah.
she leans with her chest and then not, and then she's got that lower back issue because she's got her butt sticking
Yeah.
out. And then she tries to go and run that for 5K, 10K, and she's like, oh, my back's bothering me. It's like, well, you could see why. So yeah, it's learning the
Oh no,
form. And
that's
yeah,
so going back to your thing of discussing a race.
yeah,
I would have to say the biggest race that I saw the biggest difference in was a half marathon I was doing, and it's about probably 2 years ago.
okay,
And as I'm starting off, I'm running tall, like like you're supposed to be, and running and going, and I'm maintaining a good pace. Right when I got to around 9, 10, I just looked at my time. I'm going, man, I'm a minute behind what I should be doing. What is going on? And then I just realized I felt myself slumping over more. And I go, no, you know
mm,
what? Let's stand up tall. And I stood up tall, and next thing you know, I finished and I got started dropping my time back to where I wanted to be. And it was great because for some reason there happened to be a photographer on the course at the same time. So I have a beginning photo, I have a
ooh,
middle photo, and I have an ending photo. And
perfect.
you can see the complete difference in just the slumping over,
Oh,
trying to run. And then my final photo looked exactly like my first one.
yep,
So, and it just, you get back the pace, you get back what you need. So that was a very important lesson for myself.
yeah,
We always want to preach, but when you look at it, you go, wow, it really is true.
yeah,
You need to look at all that.
yeah. When you did, what year did you do Ironman Florida?
Oh, a long time ago. I would say that. And it's always funny because I love Iron Man, but they changed the signs. So
Yeah.
before it used to be all white signs at the finish line. The finish line used to be had like a white finish, and then it switched
Oh,
to a black, and then it switched to the black finish.
yeah.
And so I always tell people I did Ironman when it was a white sign,
Oh,
and
wow,
that's
you
and
sure did. That was
yes,
a while ago.
yeah,
That was like the Dave Scott, the Mark Allen, the Paula Newby
oh,
Fraser, like,
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, like oh my God, yeah, that was even before Chris McCormick and Macca and all before Chrissy
they were just
Wellington,
coming up,
and they were
yeah,
just coming up.
yeah,
I do remember that.
and
That's
definitely
funny.
and the timing too. Like nobody had really talked about Ironman,
No.
and I remember that there was one book. It was 13 weeks to a 13-hour Ironman, and that was the first triathlon book I really ever, besides the
Yeah.
Triathlete's Training Bible. That was the
Yes.
first
With
like
Joe Friel.
that was like the
Yep.
first book you read. And at that time,
Yeah.
13 hours was considered like, hey, you're doing a good job. It's almost like running a 4-hour marathon. That's like
Yeah.
the peak that you want to be at is that. And nowadays it's just amazing with the amount of training and the
Yeah.
bikes and everything that's come along. Now that time is completely dropped. Even for your beginning amateur athletes,
Yeah.
just by the training that's been taking place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I
that's
yeah, my first Ironman was Ironman Wisconsin in 2002. I had the white signs.
yes.
Yes, and I did a 12:58:59. So I
There
was
you
like
go.
right under that
There you
13
go.
minute. Hey, it was under 13, right? Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes,
And
the
that's
white I just forgot about that. So funny. Yeah.
and it taught me a lot. Ironman Florida taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I really didn't know how to prepare for it yet. Every
Yeah.
nutrition was so new to everybody. Um, the
Yeah, right.
bikes, I mean, and just going. It was a rough race, but that really has the emphasis of embrace the suck.
Yeah.
It poured down rain on the bike course to where you could
Oof.
barely see like 7 feet in front of you. And then you come in and then you had to transition. And I remember getting my socks wet because the minute you stepped into a certain
Right.
area, just the whole thing sank and it was just all water. And you just kept going. You got out there and you kept going.
Yeah.
Uh, I ended up getting,
You embrace the suck.
yeah, and I ended up getting IT band syndrome about probably mile
Oh.
21 of the marathon. And yeah, it was just you found your tribe and you kept going
Yeah.
and you kept pushing, 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 which
Love
builds
it
that mental fortitude. It
for
really does
sure.
in life. If you accomplish even a 5K and that's your goal and you don't quit, you keep walking, you keep running, you keep jogging, whatever you need to do, it just pushes you that much farther ahead as a person.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. I've seen so many transformations from people,
Yeah.
that were like, man, I did not know I could do this. And now they
Yeah.
are. And then they
And
get the bug. And
yeah,
then
they
that's
get the
it.
bug. Yeah. Speaking of transformations, and sort of like a mix of transformation and community, right? So when we talked last week about our like just our conversation, just to talk to get ready for the podcast, you brought up a really cool analogy. Can you share that analogy with the followers about the cab and lab?
Sure. So I came up with two acronyms. And one of them is LAB, which is Life Accountability Buddy. And then the other one is CAB, which is Cardio Accountability Buddy. And in this world, we all need support.
Hmm.
And it's finding those people in your world, in your tribe, that can be that support for you, to be that lab, or be that cab. And to me, that is just as you're going through this training, whatever you want to run, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, you need to find somebody who wants to be that lab for you.
Hmm.
And it's a tough thing. And they have to understand the responsibilities of who it is. And it's not going to be that, it could be your best friend, it could be your wife, it could be
Right.
your spouse, it could be your son or your daughter.
Oh, I
But
like that.
somebody that's going to be there and go, Mom, Dad, did you do this today? Did
Yeah.
you did you push as hard as you could do? Or did you do anything? And it's everything from, did you eat today? Did you
Right.
hydrate? You know, did you get to work on time? Um, just somebody who's always there, who just has that life accountability.
Hmm.
That's just somebody who, and it goes both ways. So you can be that person's lab can be yours, and you can be theirs. And
True.
it's just somebody to call up and be like, "Hey, how's your day? Did everything go okay? All right. Well, you know what? Were you 1% better than you were the day before?
Mm.
If you're not, right now, it's not too late. Do 10
Yeah.
push-ups.
Right.
That's 10 push-ups you didn't do the day before.
Right.
Or did you not drink enough water? Well, hey, listen, let's not have so much coffee today. Let's have a couple of glasses more of water.
Right.
And just somebody who keeps that going. And then with the cardio, with the cab, it's the same thing. It just brings it more down to a level of training, to where, nobody likes running when it's dark. And so,
No.
or late at night, or after you've maybe had too many one night, or you have a rough night with your kids and you didn't get enough sleep. But just somebody to call, be like, hey, did you go for a walk today?
Hmm.
Did you do this? Did you go to the gym? Let's go. I got 10 minutes. Let's go do a couple weights. And
Yeah.
that's that person. And because all of this, life itself, you need support. You need that person who wants to step into your life and go, I got you.
Hmm.
Let's let's hold my hand and let's do this. It was it reminds me of the Spartan race I did. And the people in front of me, they were running. And I could just tell that one person started like dropping back a little bit. And the person put their hand out and held on to him and said, come on, let's go. And in the fire service for us, it's a 2 in, 2 out. You never leave
Mm.
your buddy.
Love that.
And that's the 2 in and 2 out rule. That if you're going in someplace that you're not sure, and if you're going into an area that can be potentially dangerous for you, you bring two people in and you take two people out, and that's just life itself. So
That's great.
just having that accountability, that person that's always going to be there, that's going to hold your hand and make sure you keep going through whatever you need to go through.
Yeah.
That's life itself.
I was just gonna say, it's interesting that we're talking about this because yesterday on Rulon Racing Instagram page, I was thinking about my journey, right? And I was
Hmm.
thinking about like, wow, I had my mom and my grandpa like cheering me in my stadium when I was 17 years old. And then 28 years later, my mom's sitting there watching my race. My grandpa's up in heaven watching my race, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I had the world helping me do what I wanted to do, what I said I was going to do. And it
Hmm.
reminds me of my favorite book called The Alchemist. And I don't know if I'm going to botch this quote up, but it's like when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. So, like, if you have
Yes.
a community around you They're going to rise you up, build you up, be who you need to become to be better tomorrow, to be,
Yes,
for your future self. So that's exactly what you're talking about, your cab and your lab. I love it.
absolutely. Yeah. No,
I
and
love it.
it's just like when you look at your kids, or anybody that's around you. This is a nice little quote that I've always seen, and it's where if there's four people and your kids are that fifth person, whatever it's going to be, those four
All
people
right.
will raise you up to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's an important thing for me as a father right now to make sure my kids get into the right crowd of people to be
Yes.
with.
And that's right. How old are your kids?
13 and 11.
Ooh.
Yes,
And they're boys, so that's
yes.
somewhat easier, I'm sure, but than
We'll see.
girls. We'll see, right?
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And then let's talk a little bit about really like your other concept of still,
Okay.
STILL. So let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Okay. So, with doing a lot of research and just understanding athletics itself, we all know that when we are put in a situation that kind of stresses us out, the first thing that goes up is our heart rate. And so you always feel that almost tacking out, that, oh my gosh, that deep breath, that holding your breath in. And coming up with still is stop, 3 breaths, investigate, locate, and then lead. And so, with any situation that you have that presents that oh my gosh moment, just stop right where you are. Take 3 breaths. And the way I designed the 3 breaths is more of the box breath method, which is breathe in for 5, hold for
Mm,
5, let out for 5, hold for 5. And that's been shown to really reduce the amount of stress that's in your body at that time. So you're actually starting to slow that heart rate down. And so the breath, by using your breath, you're actually slowing everything back down to a somewhat of a normal state. You're still going to be a little bit up because you're in a situation, but it's going to return all of your facilities back to you. Your mind's not going to be in this like blank state. You're going to get back to that. Okay, I know what I need to do. Everything's going to start working again. Then from there, you get into investigate what you're going after. For us, it would be, what kind of scene am I on? Is this a fire? Is this a car accident? Is this a medical call?
mm,
But it can be anything. It can be a person who's in a business meeting, and all of a sudden their boss calls on them and says, "Hey, where's this report?" Or what's your opinion
all
of
right.
this? It can be an athlete at the starting line of a race. You know, I mean, everybody knows they get hyped up for the first time they ever start doing a race, and it's just breathe, bring it back down, then investigate. What do I have to do? I have to run this
Hmm.
race. I
Hmm.
gotta, I gotta make sure. I gotta do my strategy. I have to understand that it's when the gun goes off, people are gonna be sprinting away, and I have to make
Yeah.
sure that I run my own race and not get
Yes.
caught up on that. And then, you know, investigate, locate. So for us, it's locate the problem and the issue, uh, and then lead. Take your crews or take yourself and lead yourself to that finish line and come up with your game plan and know that that's the game plan you're going to stick with
Hmm.
and get out there and accomplish what you need to do.
Love it.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I think too, like I think like even today, like I felt a little bit we talked about at the beginning, I felt a little bit of anxiety this morning because I was like, oh my God, I've been traveling this last week in Costa Rica. Like I'm trying to figure out like, oh yeah, I have to work, I have to do some podcasts. Wi-Fi was crappy, like
Hmm.
ah, and it's like this morning I was like, no, you just stop. What do you have until 12:30 to just get your stuff together, get your things together, put the earphones on, put the music on, whatever. Take your breath, make sure you meditate. Bam, you're going to get
Hmm.
your exercise when you go for your hike for your waterfall. So it's sort of the same. I mean, it's a simple thought process, but sometimes we don't stop and we don't take that breath and we
Yeah.
just try to go. We go for that fight mode, right? I got it. I'm tough. I got it. Where it's the fight or flight, and sometimes it's easier for us to fight than
Oh,
just
absolutely. And
you
it's
know
I think it's the way the world's really perceived us right now.
for sure.
We get so much information dumped on us every day,
Yeah,
so much that it's
every
like
day.
I have to be this, I have to be this person, I have to do this, and it's not. Be
Yeah.
yourself. And, I wish more people learned to slow down and
Yes.
just take that breath, take that moment, be present. I
Yeah.
find that that's a huge thing that's missing out of us right now.
Hmm.
Um, even with sports, and what's the next thing? What are we going to do next? Like we just finished this 5K, we just finished this Ironman, we just finished this marathon. What's the next goal?
Yeah.
No, stop. Be
Yeah.
present. Bring that gratitude forward that you just accomplished something in your life, and allow that to just sit with you for a little bit before you
Right.
go on to the next thing.
Love it.
Everyone wants to just rush, rush, rush.
And it's
So
all for the gram, right? It's
it
all for
is, it is.
all for social. Like it's just, I mean, we've had this conversation. That could be
Yes.
another podcast, but
We will have another podcast on
that's right.
that.
So I have one question for you
Okay.
before we say goodbye to our followers because I respect everybody's time. But what is the one final thought? Because I'm big about transformations, right? I'm big
Hmm.
about rebirthing yourself, like going into that beautiful butterfly, right? So, what is the one final thought you can give to our listeners about how to start their own transformation and become their own beautiful butterfly? Oh,
I would say,
as a butterfly just literally flew by.
wow.
Yeah.
Um, I think it goes back to the breath one more time. You know, I think that to become that butterfly, you have to understand where you are now. And
Twitter that,
may
y'all. Twitter that, man.
so
And then tag Jason.
no, it is so true. You have to understand where you want to be and by slowing down, by asking yourself the simple questions. Where am I right now? What do I want to be? And if you're religious, pray. You have to put that in there and just ask, what am I here for? And by doing that and slowing down, you will then create who you need to be because it's going to be there. It's your path is set. Sometimes you just have to believe and you have to just slow down there and let the universe or God take you where it needs to take you. And you'll know when you're ready. You'll know when
Hmm.
it's going on. I've seen that in you.
Yeah,
You know, we all have to slow down, change things, and really just associate like what's going on in my life right now. What can I leave?
hmm.
What can I take with me? And where am I currently that's going to make me a better person? Future.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. Jason, thank you so much for joining me
you're
today.
welcome, and thank you so much for enjoying.
Where can my followers find you?
So I have a website. It's bargerfitness.com.
Okay.
It's in the works still. So
That's
we have
okay.
that.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
And then really my biggest thing is Instagram, which is training. Or I'm sorry. Wow.
That's okay. Well, I have it written up for you.
I know. It's so funny. Well, I look at it all the time and I
Team,
forget what
team, team
yes.
underscore
Team
never stop
underscore never
training.
stop training.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That's just I love that because it's just we never stop training.
Right.
You always want to you're always continuing to do what you need to do in your life. And
Exactly.
so training
Very
never
good.
ends. Not just
Training
only for
never ends.
running, but for life itself.
Beautiful. Well, we will
So
put all that information in the show note. Please reach out to Jason. Please follow. Please, if you are in Miami and you are doing a race down there and you want to get a massage, always contact Jason as
yes.
well. But followers, if you guys are loving, if y'all, I should say, if y'all are loving the Everyday Healthy Human podcast, I would love for you to rate, subscribe, share this episode with your friends, leave a comment. And if you need more information about coaching with me, go to jenrulon.com. I do have spots available. Or let's just get on a call and let's talk. Let's see how we roll. But anyways, thanks, Jason. And down in Costa Rica, we say pura vida and ciao.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jason. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.